I know it's taken me a long time to do this video, but just a couple days ago I had finally seen the 13th March movie. It's not a lot of movies to make a top 10 or a large bottom list, and I wanted to wait a little longer for me to see another movie that I know would make my top 10 list, but it's now the last week of April, so I gotta get this video out there. So with that in mind, let's list off the movies that I do have the ability to see, but have not been able to see yet. Road Games. The Other Side of the Door, which I'm probably sure would probably make my bottom list. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2, which probably is another one that would make my bottom list. Creative Control, Camino, The Program, a foreign language film called The Wave, Mia Madre, Miracles from Heaven, another foreign language film called Next Time I'll Aim for the Heart. It's quite a long title. Knight of Cups, The Boy and the Beast, Hyena Road, Cemetery of Splendor, and the one movie I really wanted to hold out because I know it would make my top 10 favorites of March, Midnight Special. I was waiting to see that. I do have the ability. That's probably going to be the next movie I see. And there are even more movies that I have not seen from March that I was unable to see. The Final Project, Songs My Brother Taught Me, Mekong Hotel, They Will Have to Kill Us First, a documentary called Trapped, The Brothers Grimsby, The Young Messiah, Krisha, A Space Program, Born to be Blue, Baskin, or if that's how you pronounce that, Killing Ed, I think that's another documentary, and another documentary called Thank You for Playing. So those are all movies I have not seen from March, and if I have the ability to see them, I will, but some of those movies I probably will never be able to see. So none of those can make my bottom or top list, so let's talk about the 13 that made my top and bottom, and we'll start with my top 10 of March 2016 so far. So first up in my number 10 is a movie that I have a movie review out for. It is called The Confirmation. It stars Clive Owen and the kid from both Midnight Special and St. Vincent. And in a way, this does feel a little like St. Vincent without a lot of the major comedy. It's a nice little indie film, very dramatic when it needs to be, and quite lighthearted despite its subject matter. Then again, I am a huge fan of Clive Owen. I've liked his stuff, and he's been doing a lot of either straight-to-DVD movies or indie movies lately. He's not in a lot of the big budget movies that he used to. For me, he's always one of those actors that can do both action and drama, and he's one of those actors that I always wished was a James Bond. But he's really good in this as an alcoholic father trying to stop drinking, and who's down on his luck and has to take care of his son for the week or weekend, or I think it's week. My number 9 is a movie that I did do a review for. I just haven't edited it yet, so I won't talk too much about it. It is Theyre Watching. Theyre Watching is a found footage horror film. Let's face it, we have so many found footage horror movies. And so it takes a really special one to really shine amongst all the mediocre crap. I do definitely appreciate it, but the last bit of the movie, this really bad CGI towards the end of the movie, really hurts it from being something that would be much higher on this list. My number 8 is yet another indie film, and it is called Glassland, also dealing with alcoholism. Except this one's a more depressing, more violent, more in-your-face movie. It definitely has a minimalistic style though, which really could make some people not like this movie. Toni Collette is an alcoholic mother, and she has quite the range in this movie. But the real star of this movie is our main character, who is the son of this mother trying to help her, and he's played by Jack Reiner, who really kills it, even though it is a much subtler performance, and some people might not appreciate it, but he was really great. It has a lot of really great emotional punches, a lot of great scenes, but overall still not great enough to put it a little higher in this list. And the fact that it's lower than my next movie might piss a lot of people off. Now the movies I put in my 7 and 6, to most people, these movies would probably be some of the worst films of the year. To some people, these movies really sucked, but I liked them. My number 7, bear with me, London Has Fallen. Look, I know this movie has flaws, I still gave it a 3.5. It's definitely not as good as Olympus Has Fallen. It also has a lot of bad CGI that is really cartoony and lame. But the action that is there is intense, well handled, really the gem of the movie. Gerard Butler is still great as this character, even though he is a little bit more of a psychopath in this one. And I definitely really hated the drone strikes and the implications and the consequences that weren't even talked about in the movie because of these drone strikes. There's definitely a lot that I hated about the movie, but overall it's still an action movie and I still had a blast watching the action. And based on how good and how much I like the action alone, I put it a little above average. My number 6 also might piss quite a few people off because to them, this is one of their worst films, and to most people, this is the worst superhero movie since Fantastic Four. I don't think many people are saying it's worse than Fantastic Four, but they're saying it's the last. That's stupid to say. Fantastic Four was just last year. My number 6, I'm sure you've guessed it, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. You can go to my review, I explain it in greater detail, but when I first watched it, I thought, it's okay. I thought it could have been better. There's a lot of great scenes within it, but overall the experience is just a little above average. But very similar to my experience when I watched Avengers Age of Ultron, I definitely liked it better the second viewing. It's one of those movies that has so much plot and so much things going on that even though you believe you're following it, it takes 2 watches to really absorb everything that's going on. I definitely still feel it's a mess. I definitely don't like Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, even though he's technically Lex Jr. I still feel he was a great villain overall, but I just don't see him as this version's Lex Luthor Jr., but he's the closest thing we'll get to Lex Luthor. And I really hated that Jolly Rancher scene. And some of the things that other people hated, I wasn't bothered by all that much. My number 4 really surprised me, and it's not getting a lot of appreciation that I really think it deserves. My number 5, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I'm so used to saying Bravo for some reason. This movie, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't really excited for it. I liked Tina Fey. I liked a lot of the actors and actresses involved with the movie, but the trailer made me feel like, okay, it's just gonna be another typical comedy just set in Afghanistan. But the movie did surprise me because as the movie progressed, it got darker and became more of a dark comedy and an actual drama as well. It eventually became a real wartime drama with a deeper meaning and an actual journey that Tina Fey has to go through in the film. A journey of how she becomes sort of addicted to this lifestyle and needs to get out before she gets in real trouble. After all, these are journalists during wartime. They could get killed, and plenty do get injured. It's definitely rated R for a reason. There's some graphic stuff towards the end, which I really appreciate because I wasn't expecting it. Alright, my number 4 is an indie thriller. My number 4 is an indie thriller, and it doesn't have a lot of mentions because it's a little bit unheard of, I think. But it's a thriller and an evil babysitter type movie. It is Emily. There's a lot of things I like, but I don't want to get into detail because this is one of those movies you need to watch and not know about. You still could dislike it. I'm sure there's plenty of people that will dislike it, but I really enjoyed it. Alright, my number 3 is a movie I am reviewing and I am editing it. It's already edited, it's trying to upload, but copyright claim, so once that's dealt with, then I'll upload it completely and make it visible. But my number 3, and I won't talk about it too much, is Remember. Definitely go see this movie if you've never heard of it. It is about this man who is a Holocaust survivor. This is not based off of a true story though, but he's a Holocaust survivor. He's played by Christopher Plummer. And in this movie, his character has dementia. But after his wife passes away, his friend, played by Martin Landau, gives him a handwritten letter, a mission, and Christopher Plummer goes out into the world with his handwritten instructions as he goes to search for 4 different people and try to figure out which one is a Nazi that escaped into America under a false name, responsible for a lot of the killings in Auschwitz where he survived from. It's a really good thriller. It's not as great as these two films I'm about to mention, but it feels like a mixture of Munich meets Memento. And if you like both of those films, be sure to check out Remember. Alright, my number 1 and 2 are pretty easy to guess. These two are among the top 2 March films of most people from 2016. My number 2 is the animated phenomenon Zootopia. And I know what you're thinking, why don't you have it as number 1? Well, I didn't give it 5 stars. And my number 1 does have 5 stars. It's almost a 5-star movie. It's more like a 4.8 or a 4.9 for me. But there were a few inconsistencies that I feel, while they are nitpicky, but I feel it's justified when they do this really great world building, a fully developed world with things that make complete sense and really deep characters. Yet for some reason, they don't do a good job at telling time. And it really defeats the whole time limit thing in this movie because they're so completely off. Anyway, Zootopia didn't quite get 5 stars for me, but it is currently my 4th favorite film of this year, so don't worry, it's most likely going to stay in my top 10. Unless I see a lot of movies that I give 5 stars to. It's possible. Alright, my number 1 is the only film I've given 5 stars to in March, and it is 10 Cloverfield Lane, my 2nd favorite movie of this year so far. It is a great thriller, greatly suspenseful, it's very smart, and everything makes complete sense. And all the performances are phenomenal. Again, this is another thriller I don't want to talk too much about because you're better off not knowing about this film in order to actually watch it and see it and really appreciate it for what it is. So those are my top 10 movies of March 2016 so far. Again, there are plenty of movies I have not seen that probably would have made this top 10. It's pretty much an easy top 10 to make since only 6 of the movies on this list are 4 stars or higher. Anyway, what are your favorite movies from March 2016? Are they some of these movies, or do you have completely different ones? Go ahead and comment below if you want, and if you like this video, please subscribe and check out my other countdowns of the months of this year, as well as the movie reviews for these movies I just mentioned. As always, this is Bruce Gifford, and this was Just My Opinion.